Hi everybody, my name is Alex Sheen and I am the founder of Because I Said I Would. And I made a post a couple days ago to Facebook. I asked for questions. You know, I get thousands of emails, messages every month, and I wanted to take some time to answer some questions. So this is my Ask Me Anything AMA for Facebook. I got my little list here. I'm just going to go down, try to do this in one take because I hate editing, but we'll see if that actually happens. The first one, are there any funny promises? There's got to be some silliness among all those stories too. Definitely the funniest stories came from the New Year's event we did. So we had these promise walls at 6 different bars, nightclubs in the Cleveland area. I thought that, you know, New Year's resolution, that's your first promise for the year, right? So we had these big posters, the image of a promise card on each one of those, you know, 65 or so to each one. And at first they were, you know, more serious, like I'll reconnect with my sister or quit smoking, losing weight, standard stuff. But then, you know, people have some adult beverages and it gets a little looser. So those are when the funny ones came out. There's 2 that I remember. One of them was a gentleman who walked up there and wrote in that I talked to him. He wrote, "I will stop looking at Steven's wife," which at first I thought was kind of, you know, I don't know, I thought he was kind of playing around, joking. Then I talked to him, he was like, "No, seriously, I need to stop," and kind of took a different tone, but I thought that was funny at first. Then, what was the other one? I will stop watching Cops, you know, the TV show Cops. So I don't know if that one was serious or supposed to be funny, but Cops is a good show. Why don't you want to watch that? Let's see. Okay, number 2, the support of the Cleveland Police Department during the 10,000 feet to Seymour Avenue was amazing. How did you go about acquiring their assistance? For those of you who don't know, I made a promise to the 3 Cleveland women who were kidnapped and raped for 10 years. They lived only 6 miles away from my house, and so I made a promise to give them 10 days of my life. In those 10 days, I raised awareness for the victims of sexual violence by walking over 240 miles across the entire state of Ohio. A really interesting experience, but I do want to take time to thank the Cleveland Police Department, especially in the 2nd District. Commander Salzer met me at the house where they were imprisoned at, you know, gave me a little token of his appreciation in a speech. I really appreciate their support. And how did I get their assistance? Well, I emailed the mayor, emailed the chief of police, and as things started to boil up and more press were covering the story throughout that journey, they were more than happy to support all the folks to keep them safe in that last 10,000 feet to the house. Appreciate Cleveland's finest again. Thank you so much. Okay, my question is, when are you going to run that 5K with me? I got better, but still probably can't beat you. We miss you. Come visit soon. This is from my coworker Stacy. I also miss you guys at High on Software. I did run that first 5K though, Stacy, so don't get it twisted. I think that was the summer meltdown. So they give them silly names, but I think I'll run another 5K. I mean, it's good because I love those events because they're always for charity, and maybe one day, because I said I would, we'll do something like that, a 5K or a 240-mile walk or something ridiculous. Okay. Number 4, what is the most important, most meaningful promise that you have kept and you were unable to keep? I thought about this one a little, and I think the most important one to me was the promise I made to send 20 kids with cancer to Disneyland. When I made that promise, I filled out 20 promise cards. I sent them to Candlelighters Childhood Cancer Foundation of Nevada, and I really take promises seriously for obvious reasons, but when you make a promise to a kid, it's particularly important. Not only are they going to be let down emotionally to a greater extent than an adult. Adults are used to being disappointed, but a child, you're disappointing them to a greater degree, and then you're teaching them that that's okay. It's okay to let people down. So for all those kind of, I guess, standard reasons, that's only a foundation for what is just a tremendously emotional thing. Children with cancer, I couldn't possibly let them down. We were able to not only get those 20 tickets to Disneyland, but because of supporters like you watching this video, we were able to send 100 kids to Disneyland. I should say 100 tickets to Disneyland, so their families could go, siblings and things of that nature. Thank you again so much for helping me through that promise. I also did donate personally to cover my promise as well. Let's see here. 5. Where can I buy your shirts in Australia? You have to buy them online at becauseisaidawould.com/store. I have shipped some to Australia or New Zealand or something like that. I have to fill out these custom forms or whatever, but I'd be glad to send you a shirt. I actually just reduced the price recently from like $24 to $19. I really don't want to charge for shirts, but I got to cover the cost of stuff, so necessary evil, I guess. Okay, we're all fans. I need to really think about these questions before I read them, but let's see here. We're all fans, so besides making promises to other people, what promises would you like us to make towards you? What could we do to impress you? Well, I'm very glad to hear that someone actually wants to be impressed by me or something. That's very flattering. I think I was asked a question similar to this on like a radio show once or something, but a promise that make towards you. I think the biggest thing, my default answer would be keep your word, right? It's kind of basic, but if I wanted to make it a little bit more granular, I would say use one of the promise cards or write it on a piece of paper, post it to social media, whatever. Make a promise to volunteer, right? And then share that experience with other people to encourage them to do the same. I think that's a really great promise to make, and it is not only making an example of your commitment, but also doing a little bit to make the world a better place. The betterment of humanity is the mission of Because I Said I Would. So that's what I would say. Impressing me is, making time to help others in that selfless kind of way. And it makes you feel good, so I guess it's not completely altruistic. Okay, name 4 things everyday people can do to make a difference in the world. 4? Okay, this is just off the top of my head, so it might not be the best, but I will certainly answer the question. Okay, number 1 is, I think, kind of a mental thing. When we look at the problems in the world, whether that's flooded on the news or things that are affecting your life, a lot of the times, and I'm sure people can relate with this, you hear people complain about all the external stuff, right? I don't have enough this, or this person isn't making that decision. There's a lot of outward focused conversation and sometimes blame, I guess. And I'm not saying that that's not valid, and I'm not saying that I don't do that. I certainly do. But I try to make a point to reflect on myself. What can I do? What can I do? Because, I think back to what my dad used to say all the time, which was the only person in this world you can control is yourself. And if I can't prioritize that, then how am I going to affect the rest of the world? So, everyday people, one thing, focus on yourself. Mentally say, what can I do to make this situation better? Number 2, I think physically writing your promises down. I mean, there's a study by the Dominican University of California about the psychological effect of writing things down. But I think everyday people can make a difference in this world when they do commit to things. And writing them down is a really good way of doing that. Number 3, I would say setting an example for children, particularly, anybody you mentor you got to set an example. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but if I'm around a kid, I'm going to do a little bit extra to make sure that I really keep my word. I really set an example for that child, because it has a greater effect than I might think, and so I take time to do that. What is a fourth thing everyday people can do to make a difference? I'm going to take a curveball on this one. Everyone can maybe eat a little less meat. Okay, now that sounds like I'm going to go on this whole animal rights tirade or whatever, but it's actually, and I'm definitely an advocate for animal welfare, but you can actually, if you reduce the number of meat meals that you have, you actually reduce your carbon footprint. And it's also a lot of times healthier depending on what you're eating. So you kind of go two ways there. You help yourself, you help the environment a little bit. Again, I'm not going to go on this huge campaign to encourage vegetarianism, but it does help the environment, so it's something to consider. Again, I don't know if those are the top 4 things everyday people can do, but there are 4 things that I kind of think about. So maybe I should have gave that one a little bit more thought. Number 8, I'm wondering how you funded, how you're funded to this point, and and that you were able to quit your job and do this full time. Well, I used to have a good job. I used to be a corporate strategy lead at a large software company called Highland over in Westlake, which is like Cleveland area. And I did pretty well there. So I was able to save some money and, kind of pack away all those nuts, and I live off of that and just savings in general that I have. But certainly, the support from folks who follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Redditors, folks who've seen me on Steve Harvey especially, they've been able to donate some money, and I haven't taken a wage yet. I'm sure one day I'll need to, but I'm really committed to making sure that this social movement is sustainable. And I only can use my personal funds for so long, but that's really how I got started in this. I know everybody is not in that position, but it's kind of a leap that I took, because this is what I believe in. This is what I need to be doing with my life. So that's how, so funding through donations. Speaking engagement fees is a huge part of funding, probably the biggest part of the pie. T-shirts, things like that. Have you ever done an AMA on Reddit? Reddit.com is a website that, because I said I would, kind of blew up on, so to speak. I have not done an AMA on Reddit, but I actually want to do a separate Ask Me Anything on that site, and so I'm sure there'll be kind of a second video for that. What regrets do you have, if any? Did you ever have a moment where you thought, oh, what have I done? I get a lot of promise card requests, and some of the more meaningful messages people have sent me are about suicide. And they say, because of this card, I decided not to kill myself. I want to get those cards out as fast as possible. I sometimes worry that if the card doesn't get there, that somebody might choose some. You get what I'm saying. So sometimes I'm like, well, these cards are significant, but are they too important? And it's hard to balance like my personal life when you have that pressure. I try to take a deep breath and know that if I crack one day and this whole thing just fades off, that I can't do that. So I have to balance things. But sometimes I wouldn't. It's obviously not a regret, but this the moment of, oh, what have I done? Sometimes getting it out there in the news or the media or whatever, and then so many of them flood in, and then it takes me so long to get them back out, like to fulfill the request. I have that "oh, what have I done" moment sometimes with that. Speaking more to the regrets part, I don't know if I have any really significant regrets yet, but let me think about that. What would be a regret? I really wish I had someone on my team that was really good with like accounting and legal stuff. I need to think about that stuff more. All that back office stuff. I'm more of I like to get people excited. I don't know. So having somebody from the get-go that can help me with the structure of it would definitely be something I go back and do. I'm working on that now. 11. Where are you currently? I am currently in Marino. So I'll back up. I'm in Marino Ventures office, and Mario Marino is a gentleman who's been kind enough to give, because I said I would, office space. So sometimes you'll see my videos on YouTube. I'll take him around the office. He's got a wonderful facility that has been able to support me and some of the interns I have over the summer. Really great place to be. So thankful for his support. So Mario and Marino Ventures, thank you so much for that. That's where I am currently, which is in Rocky River, Ohio. Maybe like 10 miles west of Cleveland or something to that effect. And I'm in Ohio. So let's see here. Number 12. This is like a very common question that I get. What do you think your father would say about all you've done since his death? My dad, and I said this once before, but my dad would be frustrated. And I'm really not saying that for a fact. He would be frustrated with me that I quit my job. What I'm doing is really sometimes intangible. By that I mean I don't know how this is going to be sustained, and I don't make any money, so that's a problem. He paid for my education, did spend a lot of his life making sure that I'd be okay to provide for myself and things of that nature. So when I had a good corporate job leading corporate strategy and innovation at a software company, he was very proud of that. And I don't know if he'd have the same type of pride in what I'm doing now. Sending out free cards. If I just had 10 minutes to discuss it with him, I don't know if I could really get it across. But so he'd be a little frustrated. He'd be kind of disappointed in one way. But I proved my dad wrong plenty of times, right? Sons get a little pride in that. He certainly would love what I'm doing. He'd just worry about me personally, like dads do. I believe this so much that I have dreams about my father. In all the dreams, he never speaks. It's like there's situations where he wouldn't speak, so it's not weird. It's not like I'm trying to talk to him, but he just never speaks, and I just always think that's weird. But the last dream I had with him in it, he did speak. This was like a week ago or something, and we just got in an argument. He told me what I was doing was, like all the things I kind of said, like, you had a good job, what are you doing this? And I think the phrase was, this is just a flash in the pan. Maybe that's what I think my father would say. Maybe that's a secret fear of mine, that I've committed too much to something that may not last for very long. But at the end of the day, my dad would be proud of me. I do believe that. He'd be concerned, but he would be proud. And like I said, even if he said, this isn't going to work out or something like that, I'm going to prove him wrong. And he'll like that. So yeah, so that's the 12 questions I got from you guys from the Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to see more videos like this. I'm going to try to do more in video format. I like it. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace. I forgot to answer a question I just realized, and so I'm going to add it now. Chloe's purposefully turning away from the camera because she doesn't want to be on it, and so I just have to call her out for that. So the question was, in the past 6 months, what has been your greatest challenge with Because I Said I Would, and how did you overcome? I think the biggest challenge is, you know, it's going to be the 240-mile walk. I've never done anything like that before, and I ran a 5K once, and that's it. But I thought, you know, if I just got to put one foot in front of the other, I thought I could do it. So I, you know, made the promise. But you know, how did I get through it? You know, my knees would get a little weak, but actually the blisters on your feet is the worst, and just general exhaustion in the heat. But I think you can really get through anything if you have a strong why, right? If you have the ability to overcome something, you have your best chances when you have a good reason for it. And I'm not going to let those women down. I'm not going to let the city of Cleveland down. I'm not going to jeopardize the very fabric that is Because I Said I Would by breaking that promise. So I felt like, you know, that positive pressure, along with what it meant to, you know, to victims of sexual violence, I wasn't about to quit. And so that's how I overcame it. And that's how I think of a lot of challenges. You know, why am I doing this? So sorry for this little add-on, but I forgot to answer it. Okay, peace. We'll see if that actually happens. The first one. Are there any funny promises? There's got to be some silliness among all those stories too. Definitely the funniest stories came from the New Year's event we did. So we had these promise walls at 6 different like bars, nightclubs in the Cleveland area. I thought that, you know, New Year's resolution, that's your first promise for the year, right? So we had these big posters, the image of a promise card on each one of those, you know, 65 or so to each one. And at first they were, you know, more serious, like I'll reconnect with my sister, or quit smoking, losing weight, standard stuff. But then, you know, people have some adult beverages and it gets a little looser. So those are when the funny ones came out. There's 2 that I remember. One of them was a gentleman who walked up there and wrote in that I talked to him. Hi everybody, my name is Alex Sheen, and I am the founder of Because I Said I Would. And I made a post a couple days ago to Facebook. I asked for questions. You know, I get thousands of emails, messages every month, and I wanted to take some time to answer some questions. So this is my Ask Me Anything AMA for Facebook. I got my little list here. I'm just going to go down, try to do this in one take because I hate editing, but Cops is a good show. Why don't you want to watch that? Let's see. Okay, number 2, the support of the Cleveland Police Department during the 10,000 feet to Seymour Avenue was amazing. How did you go about acquiring their assistance? For those of you who don't know, I made a promise to the 3 Cleveland women who were kidnapped and raped for 10 years. They lived only 6 miles away from my house, and so he wrote, "I will stop looking at Steven's wife," which at first I thought was kind of, you know, I don't know, I thought he was like kind of playing around, joking. Then I talked to him, he was like, "No, seriously, I need to stop," and kind of took a different tone, but I thought that was funny at first. Then what is the other one? Oh, I will stop watching Cops, you know, the TV show Cops. So I don't know if that one was serious or supposed to be funny, but